react to Earth with a source of free oxygen, right? Rather than that oxygen being bonded to other elements is plants, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Plants and bacteria.
And now it's the case with carbon. There was less carbon in the air before, but now because of the activity of certain organisms, there's more carbon in the air. So the environment's changed still.
And we can actually tell what was in the air at what time by looking at, for example, how much oxidation happened to various metals and other things that were around in the air at given periods in history. And so we can actually look at the rates of oxidation that then created fossil layers. And so we say, okay, and you do this not as this is just the story, it's kind of our hypothesis is there was less oxygen at this point and more oxygen at this point. If that's our hypothesis, we would see more oxidation of metals at this point and not at this point. And when we go and dig it up, yes, it meets with that hypothesis. So it kind of confirmed that, like not confirmed, but it sort of provides evidence that that hypothesis is true. Now on the other side, you'd say, okay, I believe that I would not see this behavior if this were like not true. I would not see this kind of thing, and yet we keep seeing it. So it verifies that the air was not constant throughout time with its composure. Otherwise, we wouldn't see different layers in these kind of areas. So we have some evidence of these things happening.
The Martian rovers already discovered organic matter from Mars, and we have on the moon.
Yeah, so Taylor,
Second, my hypothesis is that, of course, I'm atheist. I'm open to the idea that God did create the Big Bang Theory. That's only because the Bible kind of, like I said, it doesn't explain it. So I can't say yes, I can't say no, which is a reason why I like learning about this more, to kind of make sense of what we can deduct, like me and you had talked about. To learn more about the Big Bang Theory and questions that are not answered. So then once I understand those questions that we haven't answered yet, I can kind of make a judgment, okay, if we can't answer these questions, would that lead me more to believing in God is real or he is not? But like I think we talked about this a couple months ago about finding out the probability of God being real in the Big Bang. I think we had a good conversation about that. Yeah. So that's and what we talked. I think that was a couple months ago. So.
Well, I just want to make sure you just realize one thing you kind of slurred together there in two sentences, which was what we don't know yet to what we don't know, or like what we can't know. And so there's a distinct difference between.
We haven't tested yet, right? So hypothesis
right.
or reasoning, like that's what we don't know yet, and what we don't know.
Right.
Okay. Well, so you consider everything as we don't know yet. Okay. So then we can use that. That's a better term. What we don't know yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm like, there may be things that let me confess, there's things that I will likely never know, of course. And there are definitely, I don't know which set of things there are. I'm hoping it's a small set, but I'm sure there will be things I don't know. And on the other side of that is there are likely things humans can't ever know because we're too stupid. And so it might just be the case that we need to be a smarter species to truly know things, to truly know more things. Wow. That would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and and you saying that though, personally, that's what makes me
the fuck was that?
Believe more in a God, because I believe these questions will never be answered. And it's not because we're too stupid or that scientists can't figure it out, but I believe it's truly not going to be able to be answered because it's impossible, because it was created by a design. divine design by God. So that's what I personally believe, but that's just kind of where I'm at right now.
Well, so shouldn't we have a test for that?
Test for
Like,
what?
what would be? Well, I mean, like if it's designed by God, what would be the test for that? That's a hypothesis. So do you have anything that you could check on that? Like, what would you expect to be the case if this were designed by God?
But not everything you can test for.
Well, I mean, I would test, like, as of right now, we observe that life comes from life, right? So since we have never seen life evolve from non-life, we could test the probability of the amount of years that the Earth has been, I don't know how many you think the Earth has versus which many.
Well,
right? But then you could test, okay, well, if we have never seen this happen over the course of this many years, whether it be millions of years, we could probably assume that we are never going to figure that out. And we would also have to factor in the amount of time hypothesis that we have tested.
Well, before we do all that, do you consider a virus alive or a prion alive? Are those considered alive?
Virus alive, yes.
Okay, so it's not something that actually has to have. So at that point, it doesn't need to be. No, it's fine. You can. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you consider a virus alive, it doesn't really have any moving components as such. So we're gonna have, like, at some level, you're gonna have this.
Yeah, they're not alive then.
Okay, but they reproduce by using their environment.
Right.
Sometimes they use other viruses to reproduce. So they're reproducing. And so this comes to the tricky part, right? So it could be the case that our definition of life and non-life, we're being too binary about it, and we need to have more of a slew. Like we start with
We need
salt,
to have a fuzzy.
we know is not alive. Yeah, it's like salt we know is not alive, and we know that humans are alive. And so somewhere between there, the boundary is kind of goes from one to the other, but it's a very soft line. And at any given time, it could be mostly not alive, but some a little bit alive.
He doesn't think a fetus is
So,
alive.
like, if we get into that kind of mindset, then when you say, well, you can't go from life or non-life to life, but you might be able to go from not life to just a little bit of life, right? If you talk about, like, we're crawling up the life spectrum, it might not be so crazy at that point to you, because now we're just saying we went from not life to just a little less not life.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. And I would assume that, we would be able to test that or figure that out.
Yes.
Can I ask you, though, personally, like, what is your issue with me believing that the Big Bang Theory could be created by God?
Oh, nothing.
Okay.
No, I don't have any. No. I don't have any. No, I don't have any concern. Like, so what I'm kind of curious, though, is what are you basing it on? Like, this is kind of my question last night. You've come to this conclusion, that's fine. But at some level, like at the point where you start saying, well, I'm going to start incorporating science into my Bible, I'm kind of curious, why bother? Right? I mean, like what is the...
It's not that you're incorporating it. It's not that you're necessarily incorporating it, because you're not incorporating it. It's what's not explained in the Bible that you can't really say yes or no. That I couldn't say yes or no because it's not explained in the Bible. So I couldn't say yes, that happened or didn't happen.
Well, like, for example, in the Bible, the days don't match up with any kind of statement of how we picture the Big Bang and the cosmology theory work. So you kind of have to start choosing between one or the other.
I mean, I think this would probably be another time we could talk about this and I could explain it further. Yeah, I would just... This would be kind of a lot more long conversation, and I would have to pull up the Bible and kind of explain to you more about it and what my bases are.
Well, I mean, like,
tell us one reason to believe like you do, and we will.
Sorry, what?
Just tell us one reason to believe like you do, and we will.
The power of love will transform your life for the better.
Read the Bible.
I'm right.
You would have to find that on your own with your own research in the Bible. I don't want to.
Yeah.
No one has ever given any reason to believe any religion. Not in 200,000 years.
Do you really think that's a fair thing to say? Like, honestly?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's genius.
That's very charitable of you.
The most correct thing you've heard in your life.
Yeah, that's not a dishonest statement at all.
Things like that, it's like,
Correct.
okay.
Good lord.
I rescue people from religion every day.
You know, it's
Yeah.
just interesting.
Well, in
People,
your
like,
times of need, do you turn to atheism to give you strength in life, to help
No.
you overcome the difficulties?
I rescue people from atheism every day. Atheists are
Okay,
incorrect.
as an
They can't
atheist,
prove no God.
as an atheist, let's say I'm going through a difficult struggle in life, what do I
Yeah.
turn to for strength? What's my
Religion,
my-
not religion. Turn
What?
to reality. Realize reality. Be a realist.
Yeah,
like
but
you.
reality is the problem. Reality is like causing me
No,
tension and
reality is
anxiety.
the solution.
I need a coping. I need something to cope. How does atheism help me
Yeah,
cope
but
with
you know,
reality?
Reality is the cure for
No,
religion and
it's not.
atheism.
No, but I need to
Right.
cope with reality. That's what religion does for me. So how does atheism
that's
help me
not what it
cope
does.
with reality?
Religion just causes problems.
I mean, yeah,
I
you
mean,
know,
I think the narrative
the
that
interrupting,
somehow
guys. Just
people
chill
use
out a little
religion
bit,
just to
okay?
cope is extremely overplayed and annoying. I don't think believing in God is an easy option or makes me feel good. Like, that's maybe to some people, not me, but I just think that's a dumb generalization. And at the same point, it gets kind of annoying talking to people who have never read the Bible or even not even for religious context, just to understand your opponent or understand what I'm talking about, but then make
I was a
judgments on
diehard Christian for 40 years.
It's not dumb,
Okay,
dude.
that's great. That's great.
Dude.
It's like,
atheist.
I'm just
The-
talking
the-
about
the-
people.
It's not dumb. It's a fact of the matter is we're alive. We're on this collision course with death. It causes tension and anxiety, and religion helps us deal with that tension and anxiety. That's not stupid. And
No,
if you're
actually,
not going to
I
use
don't-
religion, you're going to use propaganda or
Alright,
something else. Like there's no avoiding it.
I do
It's a
want
real
the serial
thing
killers
that
to be
exists.
religious, yeah.
don't
Let's
agree with
let the serial
Well, you're an
killers and the
idiot.
pieces
You're
of
a
shit
dumb
out there
bitch.
be religious, yeah.
I don't.
But
Okay,
like,
I'm-
please don't let them be Islam.
I don't
or
agree
Muslim.
with the facts of the matter.
Let them be
Yeah.
Christian.
Just shut up, man. For God's sake. I'm sorry, I can't bear interruptions, right? And
If
people
you're
that just
confident in your belief, like why attack me? I don't attack other atheists. I don't care. But it's always atheists and people like you that want to attack me for what I believe, and it just comes off as you're insecure in what you think. I just don't get it. Like, why are you so angered in what I believe?
Because of the blood of billions.
Because why?
The blood
Because
of
nothing is more
billions.
murderous. Nothing is more murderous than religion.
Oh my god, dude.
Okay.
I'm not with this guy. He's not in my church.
We could just end war, ban religion, and we'll end the war.
If only
Anyway,
where that was
so
so
Taylor,
simple.
the reason
I don't think it's that
I'm
simple.
totally not trying to attack your things. I'm very curious
No,
because
I
you have
understand.
a very interesting. Yeah, you have a very interesting perspective, and I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. Like, because when we talked about is there life on other planets, you're like, there could be life on other planets. Now, I don't know where you're getting that from.
The
I
reason
don't think
say
it's-
that is because the Bible, and I've read the Bible, and I'm not gonna say I'm an expert, but I read it growing up. I'm not an expert on it, but it doesn't specify. So I don't say it's my place to say, oh, there is or there's not. I don't know. Just like my belief in God. Do I believe there is a God? Do I know with absolute certainty? No. So for me, it's not that believing God makes it easy because I don't have absolute certainty. I can't nix that there are other life on other planets because I don't know. And the Bible doesn't specify it. And the Bible doesn't have to.
But I would
Well,
say
the
it would be the
Bible-
most mature thing to do is just admit that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Because
Really?
the Bible kind of does, right? I mean, like it only talks about the earth's creation. And furthermore, during the flood, for example, it says all the animals. So between those two things, like, why
Right,
would
I
there be like
understand.
other ways? Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. But he also talks about there are things that he will never know and never understand. That we will have questions that will never be answered. And again, just like you pointed out in the very beginning of Genesis, nothing is specified. We don't even know what a day is considered. Is that 24 hours? I just think it's not specified. I don't think it was supposed to be specified to give us every answer. And so I'm just not going to say that, oh, no, there's definitely not.
So sure, like we can do the days a billion years thing, but I'm saying like even then the order is wrong.
The Bible really does not. Yeah, exactly. So the Bible does not say that there are not other, like it doesn't talk about that at all anywhere.
Wouldn't you think that'd have been important? Like, wouldn't that have been the useful thing for a deity to put in there?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
That interpretation problems with every word, though.
What do you mean?
I'm saying you can't know what any of their words meant.
I can't know what any of the Bible meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the problem with language.
I mean, I can read.
Yeah. Do you think that, like, when I say a word, there's like a fact of the world that you can look at to know what I meant?
Why do you think that I couldn't understand any of the Bible?
Okay, tell me what I mean when I say this. I ran to the store.
First of all, don't talk condescending to me. If you want to ask me a question,
I'm not talking condescending. Answer my question. What do I mean when I say this sentence? I ran to the store. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna answer questions like that. If you want to ask me a question, you can, but I'm not gonna play that little game.
Okay, what he's saying. What he's saying is like when I use a word, I might have a different definition for the word than like other people, right? Like we all have kind of our own definitions for words. So like
we don't have our own definitions though.
Yes, we do.
Like
Yes,
that's
we
what
do.
intersubjectivity is.
Yes,
No,
we
we
do.
don't. We're not talking to each other at all unless we have some
Holy
agreed
shit.
upon meaning of words. We're
You
definitely
don't-
not listening to one another if we don't agree that they're
You
agreed
think
upon
that
and
you are
accepted
an idiot.
common understandings and meanings of words.
What you're saying then is words.
There is no
never
use to language,
There's an
and language
objective-
is itself a social tool. Language is a social mechanism. It's not a personal thing. You didn't acquire language just by thinking up words and thinking up your own definitions. These are received things.
yes, I
You
do.
got it
I
from
use
the
my
society.
own definitions for words all the time. You're an idiot.
Damn.
You're a
So you don't talk to
moron.
anybody, and nobody knows what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Nobody ever knows what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, you just have
Exactly.
have secret cryptic
100.
meanings. So
Yes.
Yeah,
I have
you
no
ever
idea
heard
what
of
you're
something
saying.
called private language?
It's
What
not
the-
useful if you're talking to other people.
You don't even understand the problem with what you're saying.
I think you don't
I don't
understand.
the problem. Like,
You're
what do you-
refusing to
Tell
understand.
me
But you know what I'm saying right now.
None of us
which is why
understand.
which is why you're triggered.
That's
Which
the
is why you're
point.
triggered.
What-
None of you
have
understand
ever
because
read
you
the
can't
Bible?
understand.
What
There's
private
no
language
objective-
is in the Bible? Like, what private language is? I don't understand.
Words don't have objective meanings.
We use language to inquire.
That's not answering the problem. That's
You
just
did-
making a statement.
Why do you believe that? You're not explaining what you're talking about.
Okay, look. Do you think that words can change meaning?
Well, the Old Testament is written in Hebrew, so I would say that you need to take in.
I don't even mean language. I'm just saying, like, okay, look. Do you think that the word "cool" meant what it meant 100 years ago than it does right now?
Do you think that the word God meant what it did 100 years ago?
Do I
No.
think
And still means that today?
it meant something different 100 years ago? Possibly, but do I think that is a issue with the Bible that makes me not be able to?
No.
understand it?
Just don't use the Bible yet. I'm just trying to make a small inference so that you can understand the problem.
What about the word I? Did the word I mean the same thing 100 years ago? Did 100 years before that and 100 years before that?
Understand it, I promise. Just like it's not a hard read.
Yes, the word "I" did mean different things, and it does mean different things right now.
I don't mean eyeball. I mean just the letter I in the
Yeah, when you refer to
in the
yourself, are
personal
you
sense.
referring to your body or your mental state?
Or am I referring to myself or myself? Is that what you're asking?
No, your body
Like, what's
or
the
your
difference?
mental state.
I'm not going to accept the mind body dualist perspective now because
And
there's
we
no
do
sense
have
to it.
these- Like, we do have
I don't exist outside of my body.
Oh, okay. So when you say that I got hurt, you're not differentiating like you got hurt physically or mentally?
Dude, I got
It's,
hurt.
It's still me, either way.
So that's just making it like a general sense. I'm talking about specific.
No, I'm talking about I. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about I.
Hey guys, I went to
Words
I
have
went
to
to
be
an
used in conjunction with other words. If you say I, what does that even mean?
Dude, honestly, at this point, I could give you so many.
What does I mean? Oh my god.
I went
Big
to
brain.
a arcade.
Sounds like sophistry to me, Albedo. Sophistry isn't the same thing as rational inquiry.
You're an
Hey,
idiot.
have you
Learn
guys
the
ever
philosophy of
have you
language
guys ever been to an arcade? Have you guys been to an arcade?
An arcade? What are you, 60 years old?
No, like video games.
100 years ago, arcade was
So
just
anyway-
a place you went to look at moving pictures.
Yeah, no, I've been in an arcade. But what's your point?
Yeah, but the new arcades, they have like flight simulators and things like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So anyways, I went to an arcade last night and I sat in the chair and the whole chair broke on me and I busted my leg, man, bad. I got hurt.
What? Damn, dude.
No, man, I'm telling you right now, man, I sat in the chair and I leaned back and the whole thing broke and I am fucked up. My back hurts. My leg hurts. I can hardly walk. And
why are you talking about this?
Because I'm in horrible.
I don't care about your personal lives, okay, guys? We were having a conversation about God and stuff, and I mean, Albedo, do you remember where you were? Because I was only half listening. I mean, I don't know why that guy's come in to talk about his back.
Taylor and Nicole left. Albedo left. But Albedo was trying to explain there's a problem. Like, I have the same problem where I can't really I can't read the Bible and understand it, right? Because it's hard to know what the author originally intended to mean, even though we have the words in it.
He wasn't saying he was saying that because the philosophy of language has changed over the years, and that because a word, what it means now, might have not meant the same thing at that certain time, which is not that's just not an issue. Or I mean, he's saying that without even opening the Bible. I mean, I just think I could give him a lot better reasons not to believe in God in the Bible than that. But what you're saying is you might be reading a different version. There are a lot of other versions that are harder to read. Like,
no,
you read a newer version, it's easier.
No, I'm saying, like, I try to study the Bible and understand what it means, but it's hard. I can't just read it. Like, I have to understand, like, the culture, like, the language, and then even then, like, the words they might have 4 different definitions for a word. You know, it's really hard to. I mean, we can get close, but it's hard to understand the meaning.
Yeah, words can have contradictory meanings sometimes too.
I mean, the Old Testament is in Hebrew, so you have to take it with a grain of salt if you're trying to define one word. But I mean, if you're gonna take every single word literally, that would be extremely hard to dissect every single word and find out its meanings. I mean, I just don't think it's that serious. But
like for instance, there's a word in German, Aufhebung, and while it does mean in some sense to abolish, it can also mean in like a more everyday sense to pick up, as in like to put up, to keep.
That's great. So, but the Bible was not written in German, so
there's a vernacular German Bible.
Oh,
there's
are you German?
There's stuff written in English, like, you know, from 200, 300 years ago that if I read it, I'm not going to get the correct meaning that the author intended because the language has changed, right?
Well, that's just how literature works too. And poetry is about intended meaning and like inferred meaning. What something means to somebody on a personal level. But we're not talking about art. When we're talking about history, we're not talking about art necessarily.
I think that's what Albedo was trying to get at. That.
Yeah, like I said, if you read the new version of the Bible, it's a much easier read, and there's not like the language barrier.
But in art, this intention of the original author is different than, like, let's say, Herodotus writing a history of, like, the early Greek period. You know, He's using very precise language for his time, and we can use proper nouns and so on to determine that he is talking about this ethnic group in this place at this time. But say, like in a Greek epic, maybe Homer did have some particular like allegorical references he was making, or there's something difficult to penetrate because we don't have those same
listen,
idiomatic expressions in our language today.
School, and I was able to figure it out. But I understand that if you don't want to read it, don't read it. But it's not that every single word has a hidden message behind it. It's just not. I don't think it's what you think it is. It's not like, I don't know how to explain it. I guess to articulate it to you. I mean, it's 1,200 pages. It's not meant to be dissected with every paragraph and every sentence. I see what you're saying, but I'm sure you're...
Well, now I'm confused. Is it the Bible you just do a plain reading and you're good, or you have to look backwards and reinterpret each word? Because you said day doesn't mean day. Originally, it's kind of how we got onto this, and now you're saying you shouldn't bother doing that. Just read the Bible. It's a very easy, plain reading system. So I'm very confused with your meaning.
Wait, I said day doesn't mean day. I said day in the Bible is not described like 24 hours, and to my memory, I haven't seen anything said 24 hours. So I don't know if 24 hours was considered a day back then. That's what I was saying.
Well, it's a day. The sun went up. The light came. The light went down. A day and a night, and the first day passed. I mean, it actually describes light and dark, and a day passing. So, whatever that time would be the time. So if the Earth was spinning faster, it was 20 hours, sure, but it still seems like it's one rotation.
But according to this chronology, the days were occurring without the sun and without light.
That's exactly why I said the whole point of bringing that up was to say that's why I'm not going to say God didn't create the Big Bang Theory, because that whole part of talking about that is just really left up to interpretation. It's not explained well. So
okay, does that go into you shouldn't have to figure out anything in the Bible because it's just plain reading. So now here's something that is it plain reading or not?
What the issue that he arrives to me is that he would not be able to understand the Bible or its meaning because of maybe some type of language barrier because when it was written. And I said that, well, if you read the new King James Version, which I think is the newest version of the Bible, it's a much easier read. And he's like, well, it's not going to correctly transfer the exact meaning of the old Bible. And I said, that's just not true. There are parts in the Bible. True. No, it's not. That's not true. It's not true at all. It's a much easier read for people who obviously can't understand those versions, and I can't either. But it doesn't take out anything or add anything. It just simplifies it so people can read it. That's all it does.
So I'm sorry.
I'm a Christian,
how do you know?
And I can't just read the Bible and understand it. I have to read commentaries and theology books.
Same. I'm just saying it's an easier read than any other Bible. And I said that the new version doesn't take or add anything to the old version. It's just explained in more modern terms. That's the best way to put it. It doesn't use language that we wouldn't use now.
I mean, I understand it's written in modern English instead of Middle English. I get that. I appreciate that, but at the same time, I guess I'm still trying to wonder, how do you know it's accurate to the original intent?
So you can look at the original intent as well, and you can compare it with you. Well, the original intent, well, we have manuscripts, but if you want to look at the original Bible that was created, and then you want to compare it to like the new King James Version, you could if you wanted.
I'm sorry, when you say original Bible, what do you mean by which original Bible? I guess I'm trying to... 300 AD?
You'd use hermeneutics. There's a whole system to decipher, interpret the Bible.
Yeah, there's ways to compare it, yeah. I mean, if you want to, I mean, it's a hard read, but if you want to compare it, you can. I mean, I could send you over like an instance of what I'm kind of talking about between two different verses. How one is like a harder read, and one says the same exact thing, but it's just easier in modern terms, and that's exactly what I'm talking about.
There are also like somewhat more subtle issues, like the fact that the language English isn't really like a purely Anglian language or Frisian language. It's not like there's a whole French lexicon in English. Like how this relates to the Bible specifically coming to mind. There's a point during the Passion that these soldiers offer Jesus a sponge with some supposedly sour wine. Well, some non-denominational Christians on this server that I've listened to say that, well, no, it's not sour wine, it's vinegar. Well, vinegar is a French word that literally means sour wine. So the argument kind of breaks down when we're trying to say that language is, like, we can't decipher these things. Well, no, English is like a mishmash of a whole bunch of different languages. And just because we don't know that vinegar means sour wine doesn't mean we can say that vinegar is different than sour wine.
And it's usually small instances like that as well.
What did you say, Taylor? Sorry, I wasn't listening. I mean, I'm not really listening. I'm texting this girl, but like maybe I'll respond to it if nobody else is gonna. You know what I mean? What did you say?
Anything.
Okay. I don't know what happened to that taffy, but yesterday was pretty funny. But as soon as he started this morning, it like, I don't know, man, he killed it off. He's well annoying.
That's why I had to say something.
I like him.
I sort of like him in a way because he's so dramatic and crazy about stuff.
It's entertaining.
But it's completely ridiculous, honestly.
Does anybody think that malcontent is going to have a heart attack on stream?
What? I didn't understand.
When malcontent loses it, I think he's going to have a heart attack, like for real.
I don't even talk to him anymore. Oh my god. I'm not being funny, but if he talks in the Theist experience, I am going to mute him straight away. Everything he says is retarded. Honestly.
He goes on so much. Like he has to be acting or will have a heart attack.
Oh my days. I've nearly killed him. I've probably nearly killed him in anger a few times. You know, last time he came on, he was like, he said something retarded, and then he was like, oh look, I don't deserve to be muted for that. You know, everybody knows that I notoriously hate Foxy, so I just muted him, and he was, you know, I hadn't even seen him in weeks, but I sort of like him in a way, but he just gets so irate, man.
Imagine the headline, Death by Discord.
Yeah. Honestly, the closest to killing anybody on Discord I've ever been has to be Believe in Jesus Ministries. And I don't know if you remember that, Albedo, but that was bloody funny, man. That guy, he nearly had a psychological meltdown online because it was wild.
Familiar.
He like advocated.
Did he go by a different name?
What was that?
Did he go by a different name?
BJM. He had, I think his name was like Electric something at one point as well.
A few nights ago, malcontent was yelling, and everybody turned him down. And we like waited 10 minutes, and we were like, "Hey, let's turn him back up," and he was still yelling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. To be honest, there's a lot of those atheists, honestly. I know maybe I'm a bit harsh, but I just can't. I'm just so different to them. You know what I mean? I like chilling and having a, you know, slow-paced conversation that's not like shouting over each other. You know, I prefer it when people are like respectful to each other.
I totally
And-
agree. Like honestly, I have had enough. Like I'm agnostic. I used to be hardcore theist, and then I became agnostic. And they say there's a such thing as agnostic atheist, and like I guess there's the version of saying that you just lack a belief in a god, so that makes you an atheist. And I don't know. I think that's bullshit. I think that there should be theists, agnostics, and atheists, because like the atheists have a whole lot of angry atheists. So angry, like rah 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 rah. What the fuck?
New atheism is shit.
I don't get why they all have so much anger. I've never understood
Yeah.
that.
If you have an atheist, if an atheist would think for 10
mommy
seconds if they're
issues.
going to be angry, why are you going to spend your only mortal life if you think you just die? You might as well just live happily ever after and enjoy the one life you have, you know?
They're mad at their parents
Yeah.
and they take it out on people online.
Yeah, this guy asked me a question
Yeah.
about why I believe in God and then insulted me 3 times before I could even get to it. It's like, okay, why even get on here? I don't.
I mean, honestly, I'm a mature person. I'm going to be 49 next month. I think it's that like some things are really difficult to talk about, especially with strangers. And there's a lot of keyboard
Well,
warriors
then
out
why
there.
get on
going,
Discord then?
I
Why
They
ask
just
me a
do.
question?
Yeah,
I
I can
just
handle
do
it. Like, my brother helped make the internet back when Usenet was the thing, and he was a sysop and had a bulletin board system. My brother taught me a long time ago. I'll share this with everybody. He said, "Don't let anything anyone ever pecks into their device on the other end bother you on your device. It's your device. Don't let it be a leash. Don't let them abuse you through it, and just look at it through that lens." It really works.
So if I may, for a moment, explain why some people would do this and come on Discord. This is literally a safe space, right? I mean, if you are in the South, if I was growing up, if I had Discord in the '80s when I was growing up, I absolutely would have come on here, because you can't rage against church in your school. You can't rage against church. Like when I was early in the military, I couldn't rage against religion or be upset. I had to bow my head in prayer. I had to do all these things, or else I was going to be beaten by bullies next door for being different or whatever. So yeah, if it's if that's what your life, if that's what your life is, this is the only chance you can to say what you finally believe. And yeah, it comes out all at once in a big blurble, but it's because it can't come out any other place. And if you ask me, why are they so angry? It's because, well, I'm angry because I constantly told what I have to do and I don't believe in it. And so, yeah, there is some anger in the rest of life from that.
Yeah, but
this is where it
they
comes out.
should have different rooms for that. Like for their, like, oh my God, frustrations. Because once that's done with, it's done with, and you can enjoy life.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like it is,
Well,
right?
we
This
do
is that
also
room.
that to you, so, or at least,
Yeah. Like,
you know,
like
I
look at it.
don't blame those people.
Yeah, and I mean, look at this room. How many people come and try to troll for atheists to come and fight people? That's like, I have been in other rooms where people show up from this room and go, "Hey, you're all cowards. Come fight Darth." Like, that's literally the state. You guys would come into the other room. Darth wants to fight you. Like, okay, what? Like, and people go, "Yeah, fuck that, no." And so there's tons of times where people are like, "No, we're talking about some other stuff. Shut up, go away." And like, so that's not the fact that there's a constant fight here. Like, how many times does Face of Yaw or Foxy said, what atheist should I trounce today? Who am I going to beat up on? Who am I going to win?
I know.
I'm going to have a fight.
Agree.
And like, who wants to
narcissism.
try to defend who wants to try to defend their shit worldview? Ha ha ha. Like, yeah, that's how is that not aggressive?
He's an energy. He's an energy
Honestly, I'm
vampire.
not being funny, but like, you know, I'm not. You can go in any other room. I've been in the other rooms, and it's never as chill as when I'm moderating. And yeah, I do troll a little bit, and I'll be like, "Yo, the atheists are idiots. They don't know anything. Yada yada." You know, it's obviously, you know, that's what we're all here for. We all come online to try to have debate and have a good time, and adding a bit of drama isn't really a negative in my opinion.
Well, but yeah, it kind of is.
People do it to each other, right? So it's gonna happen on both sides. I think it's gonna happen on both sides. There's nothing we can do about it, but I think we've kind of understood the people that, you know, act like that versus people who don't. So I mean, that's all that really matters at this point. But
Look, I'm not being
obviously,
funny.
can't let I feel like a lot of atheists let Darth represent the Christian community, and it gives a preconceived notion. Maybe not you, but a lot of them do. I feel.
No, I do.
Yeah, you
People
do.
should stand up to Darth. Christians should stand up to Darth and say, "Fuck you, Darth. You're being bad here." Foxy loves Darth.
I
Well, talk
did.
to Foxy.
I stood up to
Foxy
him.
loves Darth.
Just
Okay,
calm
but
down.
Foxy loves
It's
Darth.
not my job
I
to stand
Calm
up
down,
to
Bravo,
Darth.
I'll
said to
mute you,
Darth, I
honestly.
said to Darth that I asked him a question that he can answer, and then I told him that I think he's fake and he doesn't act like a Christian, he doesn't follow the Bible, and I called him out, and then he blocked me. And so if you look in those chats, there's yeah, exactly. There's no true Christian in there that. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Are you gonna stand
Not
up?
saying you aren't.
Are you gonna stand up to all the atheists with narcissistic personality disorder, like King Xerxes is one I know. Who else? Like maybe Skylar
There's
Fiction.
there's no point with Xerxes. Like, I do respect him, but he is way better at.
He's exactly like Darth. He's exactly like Darth.
Philosophy 101. I'm not as good at that stuff as he is, so I'm never gonna win. Also, I've never actually heard his point of view. I've only heard why mine sucks. So there's no religion.
Xerxes is logical and makes sense and isn't giving you word salad.
I'm not being funny.
Dude, Xerxes is full of word salad.
Yeah,
that's all he says. I'm sorry, but I've got to say this, right? He goes on the stage. He used to go on the stage, and like every single time he went on the stage, we'd get loads of new Christians join who would be like, I was listening to this guy on the stage and he was so incoherent and he was just babbling and gish galloping and he never made a coherent point that actually addressed anything anybody was saying. And then he'd mute people in an irrational way. Xerxes is, I mean, he's definitely at least as aggressive as Darth, you know?
Yeah, he was so rude to this person who sounded like they were like 15 and they were asking like legitimate questions, and he just like basically was like, all right, I'm done with you.
So
I mean, he just
Rapscuttle, you gonna stand up to him, or are you gonna be a hypocrite? You gonna stand up to Xerxes?
Oh, I have stood up for him. Basically, what I do is like I just leave his rooms, right? I don't go to his stages. I leave his room because it's not worth it. That's the same thing I do with Darth. I just don't entertain it. So I don't stick around when Xerxes is there. I don't stick around when Darth is there. The only thing, I have no power. I can't mute anybody else. I can only be muted. My only power is to not be in the room when these people are there, and I use it like that. So that's pretty much what I do.
Here's what happens if I stand up to Darth. Hey, Darth, I think you should be nicer to people. P. Mars, you're now muted. So that's how that goes.
I got a DM one time to come into Reformation because Darth Dawkins was like a quiet day, and he was looking for somebody formidable to fight against. And I came in and he said, "What's your best argument for not God?" And then I said, "Nobody's ever given any reason to believe in a God or any religion." And he muted me like that quick. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah,
You're not fair.
A real Christian, I don't think, personally.
I don't think he is either.
No.
He's just an angry Christian.
I think he's just got his gimmick going. If I was Darth Dawkins, I would Dawkins. I would rebrand and stop being abusive and start practicing with the A-list atheists and start debating because they want practice too. And then he'd start making the big bucks at the universities and stuff. Real debates like Hitchens.
Enough about the Bible as people as he thinks so.
Yeah,
which is why he uses the tactics he does.
He's no William Lane Craig, you know.
The fact that he automatically hilarious yesterday. Hold on, let me just put it. Yesterday on Mini Darth, someone who was trying to run Darth script showed up at Counter Apologetics, trying to run Darth script, and it was hilarious when this guy realized if you don't have mute powers, it doesn't work at all. The script totally falls apart if you try to do what Darth does without the ability to just silence people randomly. Because he was doing all the same statements and be like, no, that's wrong because, and I'm going to keep going because I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong. And he was like, no, wait, you're going to answer my question. And so basically it turns out if you can't absolutely authoritatively control the conversation, you can't run Darth script, which means it's a very weak argument on its own.
He grows and then destroys servers. Look at Reformation. It's dead.
I'm happy about that. I was at Reformation for a couple of weeks, and I kept getting kicked off of it. Like, the last time I got kicked for no reason, I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going back. I don't need this. So
It's empty
that
now.
was it.
Is Alberto? I can't know. I don't know how to say his name. What religion is he? I haven't heard him talk in
Everyone
months. I
calls
can't
him
remember.
Alberto. He's an atheist.
It just
He's an atheist.
He's an atheist.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought for a second we agreed on a couple things. I was
He
confused.
doesn't.
But,
He
okay.
doesn't hate Christians though. Like most of the atheists,
Oh,
he probably hate Christians. So
Yeah.
There's lots of buffet Christians I enjoy. There's a ton of polite, nice, happy buffet type Christians that I'm a fan of. But then there's some that went to the buffet and chose the wrong dishes, and they're sitting down with a big thing of stinky boiled fish and sushi, which I hate. And I'm like, oh, no, that one I can't take. So it depends on which buffet style Christian you're talking to at any given time of if I like them or not.
if I define,
I think just to hit because obviously I do love Darth. Darth is one of my favorite people online. He was one of the first people
Why?
that I met.
Why?
That was,
Why?
I'm explaining it. Just calm down, okay? So yeah, Darth's one of my favorite people online. He was one of the first people I met. It was on Google Hangouts. I met Jack Enstrike and those guys first, and they were idiots. And then Darth was incredibly patient. You know, I didn't know anything about epistemology or philosophy. I didn't know what any of the words meant. And he literally sat there over the course of like 3 days for 9 hours, genuinely, explaining in a civil way, in a really polite and chill manner, everything that I needed to learn. And then explain to me why, you know, my atheist perspective was incoherent. And he was correct. And so he taught me something really important in my life that I hadn't learned at school. You know, we spend millions of pounds on education every year for children. You know what I mean? It's probably even in the billions at this point in the UK. And, you know, Darth taught me more, a lot more, much more useful information over the course of those like 9 hours than, you know, basically all of my teachers.
What was the useful information they taught? What can you use from his teaching?
Like what epistemology means, how to make a coherent system by which you evaluate truth claims, what's the importance of having a consistent...
So he taught you how to argue, not really about the Bible or God.
Yeah, he's more into arguing than the Bible.
Wait. How do you evaluate truth?
How do you evaluate truth? Why is everybody talking? Taylor asked me a question, Rab. Shut up. What is wrong with you, man? I don't want to have to mute you. I actually like you. But you're a motor mouth, man. You've got to just wait. Do you know what I mean? Everybody else is waiting. Why can't you just shut up a minute? It's for God's sake, man.
I mean, to be fair,
honestly, I hate people like that. It really pisses me off, Rap, when people keep over talking over and over and over again. There's like 10 people in the room. Somebody's asked me a question personally, and then what the fuck are you even doing? Right? Would you do that in person? If you did that in front of me in person, mate, I'd go schizo. Do you know what I mean? People don't act like that. So what are you doing? Does my fucking head in, man. So yeah, Darth taught me a lot of really important things, like the importance of being consistent when you're evaluating truth claims, right? The importance of having an epistemology that can lead you to knowledge about the ontological state of affairs. Things like that, right? That I would never have learned if I hadn't have met him. So yeah, and he was incredibly polite to me, really polite. So yeah, he's been mean to other people, but that's probably because they overtalk him a lot. You know, and he's like me, he just doesn't like it.
Sometimes you see like a really sensitive subject come up like that, and 5 people will talk.
It's just, I mean, I barely said anything. It's just so ridiculous, man.
Well, to be fair, I did.
Well, sorry, Taylor.
I did. No, I overtalked you, and I feel bad.
Fox.
No, it's fine. It's fine. To be honest, you need like a bit of a back and forth, and a tiny bit of interruption's fine, right? You know, P always tells me off because I'm too heavy-handed on the moderation there, and he's probably right on occasion. But my God, people have just got no idea how to communicate. You know what I mean? I go into the other. This is what I mean. I go into the other rooms, and you just literally can't have a conversation.
Yeah.
Why? It's because everybody's fucking retarded.
This server is way toxic. And you get it, though. You're a good mod, and there's a couple of good mods, and some of the mods are just let it be so wild.
I was gonna say quick, Fox, when you say positive things about Darth, though, it like sets people off, so they want to get in there and be like, "Fuck Darth."
Yeah, that's true. That's like a sensitive topic for everyone, so they want to jump
attacked.
in.
It's true. Everybody wants to mess with him.
I've said, look.
I mean, you already know my thoughts about what. I mean, I understand he taught you a lot, but I mean, it depends on what you care about. If you care about knowing about God, he obviously gave you this viewpoint to where you have a precept view of God, to where you cannot argue with the stance that you have, which is what Darth has provided you. So he really didn't necessarily provide you with information about God or the Bible. And if that's what you're interested in, and if you're a theist and that's something of your interest and you want to learn more, he gave you all the wrong information that you would give to someone who's a new Christian. And so maybe one day, sorry, go ahead.
He just said this morning that his main goal is to spread the gospel, and he never does it.
No, exactly. So he's just a phony, and it talks about people like him in the Bible all the time. And it's just...
Yeah, I mean, it's okay for me to, try to maybe, and I think Darth actually knows what he's doing. So this is it, right? If I hadn't have spoken to Darth, right, then I would never, to be honest, there was a whole number of things that came into it, right? So I watched some Ben Shapiro stuff, and I realized that Ben Shapiro was completely demoing the pro-life debate, even though I'd grown up, in like an atheist environment where everybody said that pro-choice, anybody who's pro-life is basically a schizophrenic Westboro Baptist Church type Christian, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then, so, I was brought up when I was a little kid listening to Bill Hicks and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So,
well, he's also Jewish, too.
Then, after that, I watched some Jordan Peterson stuff, loads of Jordan Peterson stuff, the Maps of Meaning and stuff. And if Darth hadn't have spoken to me, I don't know if I'd ever really have gone down the journey of actually learning so much about, all the religious questions in such an in-depth way. So although you can be like, oh, his approach is negative and this, that, and the other, but the competitive approach that Darth brings to, the educational aspect of debates and stuff like that, it actually, I feel like it encourages people, because people don't like to lose, you know what I mean? So then,
no, I mean, but that's the thing. I won't criticize you for anything, Foxy. I'm just saying, if you are a Christian, you believe in God, that's not the way you want to go about things. And you'd be more interested in learning about God in the story and not how to win an argument. Because the argument that you have has faults within itself. And your claim that you have absolute truth that God exists is just impossible. I mean, it just doesn't align with the Bible. And also, on top of that, I have heard. Sorry, what?
I don't know if that's true, and I mean, it's not impossible. I'm sorry to say, to have absolute truth.
Well, if you want to ever talk about the Bible and what's in the context, I can definitely talk to you about it.
I always like talking about the Bible. Do you know what? That's actually my goal now. So the reason that I wanted to make the theist experience was for two reasons. One, so that we had an area on Discord where people could come and have civil conversations about the existence of God and about stuff to do, stuff in the Bible and stuff like that. And this is the way that I learn best, you know what I mean? Having conversations and I'm not really very good I'm not a very good visual learner. I'm better at auditory and practical learning. So
for me, like the most important thing about the Bible and Christianity is love, right? And love is not always reasonable. Like it's not. Jesus said to love your enemies, right? That might not be logical, right? But so like I just don't see like reason and logic is like a good way to convince someone to be a Christian. It's more about like, for me, it's the power of love to transform our lives for the better. And that's what it's all about.
Can I rebuttal to that really quick?
Sure.
When we make statements like to transform our life for the better, it always gives off this connotation that we turn to the Bible to somehow just have an easier or better life, that it's our cop-out, that it's makes us feel good, makes us feel better. And I know you probably didn't mean to say that, but I hear... Yeah, and I just hear Christians...
Like, it's like a strength to overcome a difficult life rather than like an easy life.
Well, again, though, but that's still, you're using the Bible. It kind of makes your religion sound like, oh, well, I believe in God because it gives me strength to get through my life. And so it's just a pinnacle of support.
It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing I would say to that is the reason that you would believe in the Bible is because you actually believe that Jesus is the Son of God and you believe in his salvation and you want to live like him. And you want to go to heaven and live with him in eternity. Now, although the Bible does help you feel solitude and that there is life after death, that is not the main reason you would believe in the Bible or turn to the Bible, but because you want to serve God. And so I think that's where a lot of atheists get the idea that, oh, hey, you guys are just leaning on it, choosing the easy way out. It's just something comforting. When really, no, it's truly what we believe in and what to follow by. But yes, it does have the aspects of there is life after death.
I used to go to church and wait for them to tell us why we believe what we're supposed to believe. And that after 30 years of going to church and 40 years of being a Christian, I was like, no sermon has ever told us why we're supposed to believe the Bible.
So,
but do you kind of see what I'm saying, though? I'm sorry, I was just going to see what you had to say. That. Do you kind of see what I'm saying when I say that?
Yeah.
And like, not to discredit you, I was just kind of telling you what I think. That's why when we say things like that, it gives off that connotation to atheists that, well, God is just a crutch. You know what I mean?
Well, it can be. I think it is. I mean, if we can not get all mad, I think it is. And I think that serial killers should be Christians.
I don't have a problem with that though. Like everyone has their cross to bear, and I have Jesus Christ. He holds me and he holds my cross and he carries us both. I mean, that's how I look at it.
I thought you said crutch.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, he is who we lean on, but that's not the reason we just believe in him to have a crutch. You know what I'm saying? That's what
bad people in this world need to be religious.
Paul says we're supposed to show non-believers the power of love to transform our lives, and like I think that's why Christianity spread, was because people were looking at these Christians who were living in miserable conditions and they ought not be happy, but they were living in love and joy, and they're like, why are these people happy? You know, like I think it was they inspired
but look at
no, and not necessarily. If you look up the history of Christianity, and not necessarily, it was not. I mean, I don't want to disagree with you, but it wasn't because to give a society a meaning of hope. There's actually a specific book called The Suicide Note that this author wrote about how each culture throughout centuries have created some sort of God to help them get through whatever heartache or trouble they were going through, and how he believes that is transformed into religion. So I just try my best to stay away from like telling people, oh yeah, you know, he makes my life better, or I was sad and then I found God and now my life is easier and better.
Can I ask a different
question?
The
best thing to do.
So if following Jesus meant to give up all your worldly goods and live an ascetic life where all you did was help the poor all day long and there was no thought of your own happiness other than the worship of Jesus and God, would you do it?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Why not? That's what he actually explicitly said you should do.
I did.
Would I give up if I was to theoretically give up everything right now? It would cause pain on a lot of other people. Money, like, I mean, I can praise God and do things for God in other ways, and giving up every single thing I have and own to go to some area and only praise Him. I mean, there's things I can do in my community. I mean, I don't necessarily need to do that.
So God made your plan better than his plan.
I don't think that was his plan. I mean, he asked you to follow. He's asked us to follow and be Christ-like. And so that's really what the only thing I can do is try to be as much like him as possible. And
I'm just thinking, if you look at the history of the church, it's made a lot of money and killed a lot of people. And it still makes a lot of money, kills a lot of people. And governments use religions to control populations.
People? So you think churches control populations more than large organizations?
I think governments use religions to control populations.
Not so much these
like control,
and that's
not
not
population
right.
control, control people, control countries, control the sheeple.
Not so much in the present, that was more in the past.
Yeah,
so
more.
Do you mean, for instance, like Greg Abbott and the abortion law?
It's changing for the better recently because of the internet.
Yeah, now they use the internet to control us instead of religion. It's better.
Dude, it's crazy. Don't you miss the days that you can just go out and not see everybody holding their stupid phones in public? There should be a law against that. Keep your phone.
No, I don't miss that at all. No, I don't miss that at all.
That's why they don't need religion anymore, because they have cell phones.
I wish you could like only have your phone out if it rings and it's important in public, because everybody's like zombies looking at their phones all the time. It's crazy.
It's true.
Why is that a problem? It's always been the case.
There's something so wrong with it, right?
Because they're like not enjoying their lives. They're living a fantasy.
They are enjoying their lives.
Yeah, it's virtual happiness. It's not real. Like, go camping, go cut a deer, go catch a fish.
Wait. Walking down a sidewalk from point A to point B and keeping your head up, that's happiness?
Like,
no, it's a sidewalk. It was built by human apes.
Again, so then if a person's looking down on their phone while they're walking the sidewalk, what does it matter?
It's just messed up. This mechanized, the industrial revolution got out of control.
It's so normalized, he doesn't even understand. Like,
yeah, I'm asking.
Hippie, you have had the most outcast comments of tonight, but they've been very interesting, to say the least.
So now, backing up though, if Foxy's still here, I had a question for him. I'd like to know, since Darth has taught him, how do you evaluate a truth claim? Like if I give you, it's either, like for example, I'll say Newton's laws of motion are absolute, or I'll say no, general relativity explains the laws of the planets better. How do you evaluate those truth claims?
I didn't say that Darth taught me how to evaluate truth claims. Obviously, I was already doing that prior to meeting Darth.
I thought that's exactly what you said. That's why I was jumping in there. You explicitly said that sentence.
No. I said that he explained to me the importance of using a consistent system to evaluate truth claims.
Yeah, that's what I understood too, Fox.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, basically, you don't want to be having a two-tiered system by which you evaluate truth claims, because you'll be inconsistent. Like every proposition that somebody puts forward should be essentially it should be filtered through the same set of criteria, right, in order for you to be consistent in your approach to whether something is true or not, you know?
So what criteria is that? That's kind of what I'm asking. So what is that criteria you're filtering it through?
System, you know?
Man, interject.
So what does that mean?
Fox, are you talking about like...
Go on, P-Moss.
Are you talking about like, Darth brought this up yesterday, how like the atheists' own metric or criteria debunks itself, because they'll say like, we want evidence to believe, but then they don't have evidence for atheism. So by their own standard, they shouldn't believe in atheism either. And then that is an
what does believe in atheism mean?
That is an inconsistent.
That's inconsistent. I don't understand what believe in atheism means.
I think I can explain something that Darth said that was completely untrue. He claimed that the Bible says that God turned water into wine, but he claimed on one of his speeches that it was never water and it was always wine, and this is so that he can't be proven incorrect. So it's like, I think that's what it is keeping the two consistent. Because then if you say, okay, well, if we can't prove that happened, then can we prove the Bible to be not true? So if he lies and says, no, it was always wine, it makes it some excuse, then people can't use that against him.
Okay, now I'm totally confused.
Yeah, that one confused me.
Foxy, is that what you're trying to say?
Sorry,
That you have to be consistent with each other?
I didn't really get what you were putting down, honestly.
Okay, so here's a case then. Foxy, did Jesus turn water into wine? What is your statement for evaluating that truth claim?
Does it comport to the Christian worldview? That's the system that I'm going to evaluate it through.
It is written in the Bible. Is that done?
Yeah, then that's a fact.
All right. Okay, so every line in the Bible, absolute truth, can't be false.
I mean, look, so the thing about the Bible is, and I need to look into that a bit more really, because I'm, not 100% sure about how to interpret every single part of the Bible, but there is always some truth in anything that's written in the Bible. So if you look at, one of the stories in the Bible or something like that, maybe it'll be metaphorical, maybe it will be written in an old English sort of language, maybe it'll be what is it? What they used to use dragons and stuff like that to describe problematic situations, and so you have to interpret it in the correct way. It's written in a 2,000-year-old language, and so you've got to read it with that in mind.
Interpret it in any way. It's interpret. No, that's not true. You don't have to interpret anything from the Bible. It's written clear as day. There are some minor. I mean,
that's not on. I don't think that's honest.
No, it's very honest. Okay, yes. Are there going to be instances where maybe a sentence is kind of confusing, but is it going to throw you off from actual meaning? No.
Not to derail. Let's stay on topic. I have an example.
Bible scholars will spend their entire life studying a single book in the Bible, and they will say they don't even know everything about it.
I'm not saying you have to know everything, but I'm saying you can read it, because I think he just said that you won't be able to because it's I can't exactly what he said, but you can read the Bible and understand what it's saying.
No, you have to be trained in hermeneutics.
That's not
just
true.
Take one passage.
I've read the Bible. That's just not true.
Jesus told his apostles that some of you, I tell you the truth, some of you will not taste of death until I return him coming in my kingdom. And where are those living disciples? To this day, they're 2,000 years old. I mean, they're all dead. It was a doomsday cult.
Let's just get back to Rabs. But Foxy, have you read the Bible? I mean,
yeah, I've been listening to it on an audiobook, and I've read loads of it, but not the whole thing all the way through. I've listened to the audiobook all the way through about 4 times now, but
I think
to
when
be honest,
scholars
I need to do both at the same time.
They're not trying to dissect what it means necessarily, but just they're trying to understand. I don't know how to explain it.
The dead rose from the grave.
I've been a part of a lot of Bible studies and stuff, Taylor. You know what I mean? I've listened to all sorts of different breakdowns of the Bible. I've listened to the stuff. I've
I understand. I've read the Bible myself, and I can read it. There are some things I need clarification on, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist.
Okay, so the dead rose from the grave and visited their homes. What happened?
Well, actually, you know what, Taylor? When you say that, is every time I've interpreted a scripture, actually, except for one, but every time I've interpreted a scripture, even when I've not had loads of Christians around to back me up or to help me out, I've actually interpreted it correctly. You know what I mean? So it is pretty clear. And there's only one situation where I was told that I was wrong, but I'm not convinced by their breakdown either. So I just need to look into that more.
So, Foxy, then it's not the words on the page that you're using; it's what you believe the Christian view is, and then your reinterpretation of the Bible in that what you assume the view is, and then you evaluate the truth claim. That's
No,
like the
he
three
just
steps you're
said the
doing.
complete opposite, Raz. He just said that he read it, and then he gets clarification on what exactly it means. And then from there, he said he doesn't know if he for sure trusts their clarification, and he wants to get opinions from other people, because there are parts in the Bible that I agree that are kind of hard to understand the context, that you do need clarification. I've asked my pastor for it. I would ask my private school teachers, but it's not anyone that does that is actually Catholics that do that. But yes, we do need clarification on some instances in the Bible from people who have way more experience and read it for a lot longer and practiced the teachings of the Bible for many more years than we have. So it's not, there's no Baptist or any type of religion that would help us foresee anything in it at all, if that's what you're implying. I mean, I guess I can.
So all right, here's where I'm confused. And this is me being confused. And so I am wrong in this next statement. I understand that, but this is where I'm trying to get you to clarify. What I have heard is the Bible is plain unless you interpret it, and you may need to interpret it. And when you interpret it, it'll be plain unless you interpret it incorrectly, which someone else will tell you if you've interpreted it correctly, and then it'll be plain. But it's not plain, and you have to understand why you're interpreting it the way you're interpreting it. It's kind of like the four, like,
this is
around statements I kind of heard,
it.
and I'm confused.
The Bible is 1,200 pages. The original text, the Old Testament, was written in Hebrew. You can read the Bible, but there might be some context or stories that you don't necessarily understand, and you need context to it. So you might ask for clarification. Hey, is God saying this in this paragraph? You know, why is this happening in this paragraph? Because sometimes you read it and it doesn't, like, some paragraphs don't make sense pertaining to the story. So you might ask your pastor to clarify, hey, what's going on in this chapter? What is God talking about? Who is speaking? And it's just clarification on what you're reading so you can keep following along, because the book is 1,000 pages. So it's not that you need.
So an example here.
Yeah.
Well, so an example here, just like an easy one we talked about like an hour ago, which is Genesis, right? We'll go just as an easy example. You said, I am not convinced the day has to be 24 hours. Yeah, the sun went up, sun went down, first day, I got it. But like came out of darkness, first day, but I don't believe the day has to be 24 hours. Okay, what are you basing that on?
What I said is, I don't know, because he didn't clarify at the beginning, right? So in that particular chapter at the very beginning of the book, he didn't clarify 24 hours. Now, I could go through the Bible and find another passage that might say, hey, from sun up to sundown, this happened. Okay.
There's no way she's gonna consistently hold this interpretation. It's full of shit. This woman's fucking crazy.
Hey, this happened in 24 hours, so I don't know. I'm not gonna say yes or no.
Fucking crazy. She's like trying to tell me, don't talk about love, the power of love to transform your life. That's stupid. That's not a reason to believe in God. That's literally why Paul said to tell people.
It's not that I'm doubting.
She's a dog shit idiot.
I'm going to take the Bible and add things to it and take away from it, because that's the biggest issue that Christians do or have, that you guys have with us. So I'm not going to make a reference or my own opinion from what's not there. So I'm simply saying, hey, it doesn't say it, so I don't know.
Okay.
You have no self-awareness.
Me?
Yeah, you're crazy.
Why?
The things you say, they're just like...
What exactly did I say?
You should be bouncing from padded walls. Like,
what exactly did I say? Rabs, did I say anything confusing? I'm trying to explain this as best as I can.
It's just like, I can't believe you actually believe what you're saying. Like, it's crazy.
What did I say? That's crazy. No, I generally want to understand what I said that was crazy.
Like the idea you can interpret the Bible without a bias and all this stuff.
No, I didn't say that. I said you can read the Bible. I said you can read the Bible, but yes, there are some things that you'll need clarification on, of course. I said I've talked to my pastor about it, and I got help when I went to a private school. But it's not like it's impossible to read because of the language difference, which I thought that was being iterated. That's not true. You can read the Bible, but of course you're going to need help if you don't understand something, or have someone explain to you better what's going on in a certain chapter. Just like if you were reading like a calculus book, like, yeah, you might understand it, but you'll get to some parts that make no sense, and you just need clarification on it. But yes, anyone can read the Bible, but yeah, it will take time, and you will probably need help and have questions. Is that not a fair statement?
Yeah.
So while I totally do not want to defend T-Mars at all, the one thing I have heard spoken, I do not speak Hebrew, but is the phrase day in Genesis is the same word that's used whenever a period of 24 hours is discussed, sun up to sundown. It's the exact same word. Yeah. So it seems very liberal to say it could mean anything other than a period of a day.
But wait, I don't want to defend any Christian either, but the Bible also says that a day to the Lord is 1,000 years. I remember that from my private.
All I'm saying is, yeah, it says God created the world 6 days. You asked me, do we know if it's 24 hours? I said, no, we don't know. And this was back up to the point about talking about the Big Bang Theory. So I don't understand. Like, what am I saying that's not making sense?
I think it's all explained because humans are in infancy as a species. We're primitives.
So let me put it this way. There is a way to write the Bible such that it would have been more correct and still understandable to primitives as a species, right? It could have been written so many better ways. Even just reversing days 3 and 4 on the progression would have been more real.
I mean, if you want to talk to the people who translated it from the old King James Version to the new King James Version, that they could have done a better job.
Well, hopefully they didn't do that. I'm hoping that that's not what those people did, which would be a horrible thing to do. I'm hoping the new King James went back to the original sources like the King James did, because otherwise it's even a worse game of telephone than I thought.
No, it is. It is. I'm sorry. I feel like we're just like having a disconnect. And it's really hard to explain this to you when you haven't read or any of the Bible. So like, it's just very hard for me to explain it to you if you haven't looked at it.
I have read the Bible.
I'm trying to explain it to you without you having no knowledge of it. And like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to explain to you the differences of the Bible.
No, I have knowledge of it.
I know, but have you read the text and kind of compared like in how some Bibles are a harder read than others? It's not that the meaning has changed. Though there's just extra words that, I mean,
I feel like I'm going to say, if you go to the authors, like if you go to the New King James Version, I'm going to bet that the writers of the New King James, while they possibly did reference the King James, I'm going to bet they went back to original sources and tried to retranslate into modern English. Again, just doing the same kind of activity. I doubt they just read the King James Version and updated the language, like some kind of like, oh, these are new words that mean these things from 1500, which would just be a very awful way to write a Bible.
I agree. No, I completely agree. And that would probably be the best method to do that. And they're probably making sure that no one else made any other mistake and trying to stay to the original text as possible and not change the meaning of anything.
You can read a verse in every translation that you can find too. Like, look up Ezekiel 4:12, and you'll see all the newer versions like taking away that it was like bread that was supposed to be eaten like barley cakes made with human dung and made in front of the congregation. But what church makes the bread properly as commanded with the poop? It's Ezekiel 4:12.
Wait, who's the other Protestant in this group?
We don't have to follow those laws though as Christians.
The command of the Bible.
I'm still kind of confused what I said that was so wrong that you're talking about. But like, if you want to clarify, if I'm wrong about something, please jump in.
I was just saying that, like, when they come up with new translations, they come up
It's not
with,
a new translation. It's just an easier version to read the Bible, like New King James Version. It's just modern words.
Well, just modern words, but they like literally, if you look at the progression of how they keep translating the Bible, they'll take more and more poop out of Ezekiel 4:12 bread.
Mm-hmm. With the
Strange.
intent of not changing the meaning. So
It's
that's
almost like somebody read the Bible and said, look, they said to eat bread with poop in it. And then, so let's change it that they say use poop for fuel and cook the bread over it. I don't care. There's still poop involved, and it said to do it in front of the congregation and eat it as barley cakes. Yum, yum. I don't see any church obeying.
Yeah, well, I don't know what verse you're talking about, but
Christians don't have to obey that.
look, the Bible keeps the original message throughout every single version. Yes, some words are changed around to have an easier read, but the message is still the exact same. So we can sit and nitpick, and people can nitpick, oh, well, this is different, this may be a little different. The intent is still the same, the chapters are still the same, the paragraphs are still the same, it's still the same meaning. It is just made for people to have an easier read and grasp of the Bible. That's it. Point blank.
So one interpretation I'd like to bring up then, an interpretation that comes up often is, was Paul talking to one church, or was he talking to all Christians?
Oh, this is
Any of them. Corinthians, for example. Was he talking to one church, or was he talking to all churches?
I mean, there's a lot of chapters that talk about Paul. I would have to, I mean, I can pull it up right now and kind of look over it really quick.
So just go to the one where women shouldn't be in control, right? Women should not be over men. They should be quiet in church. All of those statements. Was Paul talking to just one church, or was he talking to all Christians? How do you determine that message? Is that message unchanging that he was talking to Paul or talking to one church, or is it unchanging that he was talking to all Christians? And if so, do you talk in church?
Well, yes, I talk in church. If I have to, usually I'm kind of just on my phone. The Old Testament, if you talk to Catholics, they will, I'm not for sure they abide. Sorry, what?
This isn't the Old Testament.
I'm sorry, can you repeat can you repeat what it was? I heard you wrong then.
This is from Paul, letter to Corinthians in the New Testament, where he's explicitly saying women shouldn't be talking in church. So Paul is directing another people, hey, don't let women talk in church. They can go home and ask their husbands to clarify things they may be confused about.
Excuse me, mister.
So Paul, if he said that,
Excuse me, mister. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. So
Can I ask
that's
you
what
a
he
question,
said.
mister?
Who are you talking to? Wait, what?
Hey, mister.
Mister, can I ask you a question, please?
Okay.
Are you talking to me or who?
I'm not sure who's talking to.
I'm talking to the gentleman.
Because he's not talking to the woman.
No, I'm talking to you. So I went to church, and I was in dire need for help. And I went to church, and the people didn't offer me any assistance.
Right. They just want your money instead.
Okay.
This guy come in and rail as soon as I left.
Do you know the definition of dire need?
I don't know why you're telling me this.
I would say you fit the definition of dire need.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously, maybe I'm jumping to the gun a bit here, but like maybe Rab, P. Mars, or Taylor could tell me whether this guy's a troll.
He's trolling, but I'll tell you what it is. That's the book you write your little stories in, your private little stories, that you want to write about your day and stuff like that. That's what that. Oh wait, sorry, that's diary. Sorry, my bad.
What?
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Back to the question there, Taylor. Yeah, back to the question there, Taylor. Where were we? Oh yes, Paul. So how do you interpret that? Like, what is your methodology of determining, was Paul talking to everybody or just to that one church?
To be honest, I would have to look more into this story. I think Jonathan would have a better explanation. Whether he was talking to the church or talking to all people, all Christians at the time, he definitely could have been. But that does not mean that it is a sin. This is merely just a story talking about Paul writing these 4 letters to the church. If there was another Bible verse in the Bible that talked about how women talking in church was a sin, and this was directly from God, because I don't know if you know this, but in the Bible there are passages that are directly God's words. And if he was to claim it to be a sin, then it would be considered a sin. But since
Hey,
this is
do you guys see my picture?
Yeah, don't worry about that. He's muted.
But I would honestly, this story, I would have to read more on and give you a better answer. But Jonathan might have a better answer for you. But I know that it's not a sin or against the 10 Commandments or anything like that for women to talk in church. So this is merely just a story that happened with Paul. And I wish I could tell you why he wrote those letters at the time, but I truly can't remember. I would have to read over the
I
story
could tell
again.
you, and I told this guy.
So would you say everything?
That was a specific church where the women were dominating the men, and the men, weren't allowed to talk. So Paul was.
That's your interpretation.
No, that's the history. That's
Yes.
the fact. That's a fact.
Well, it
It's
takes a
not
lot
my
of reading to
interpretation, it's
understand
historical
it.
fact, dude.
Yeah. It takes a lot of reading too. Like you have to read chapters and chapters and chapters to understand a story in the Bible. It's not an interpretation. It's just a summary of what he's talking about. So, I mean, you can ask Jonathan. He's more knowledgeable on the story with Paul. But I would refer to something like this to, okay, well, does God say it's a sin? Is it against 10 Commandments? Yada, yada, yada. If not, okay, then no.
Wait. Why 10? Sorry, you keep saying the 10 Commandments. God gave a lot more than 10.
Right. So Protestants and Catholics differ. Protestants keep the 10 Commandments. Catholics also use the commandments that Paul, I think, was given to by Jesus on the hill. And they abide by those as well. That was part of the Old Testament.
I'm sorry. Why? Then that's not what we're asking. In the Old Testament, they start with the commandments and they just keep going. I mean, they don't stop at 10. He just gives a list of 600 rules. So why would you
there's
stop
actually
at 10?
the 10 Commandments. So, there's written 10 Commandments of the Bible that are prevalent. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt those are what we abide by.
No, but
Those
my
are
point
the
is,
most sacred texts that we have even actually still now preserved today.
So I understand that. I'm not questioning that those 10 are there. I'm saying, why did you stop at those 10 when the verses just keeps going?
So what keeps going? What the verses that keep going? What do they say?
Let's see. Let me stop here. I will look up.
I think I might know what you're talking about. I'm trying to. Do you know what?
Is it Leviticus? Isn't that where the 10 Commandments or Exodus?
I think what happens. Okay, so it states the 10 Commandments, and then it talks about how to follow Jesus after that, but it is not listed as the commandments. He specifically writes out 10 Commandments, but I want to double check with you.
Jesus didn't give any commandments.
No, Jesus said there's 2 important ones.
Sorry.
He said
do unto others.
He said, follow him and love God and love others. He didn't write a list of 10 commandments.
As you would have others do to you.
But that when he says those 2, love the Father and love your neighbor as yourself, he says on this, hang all of the commandments. Hang off these 2.
Yeah, because Jesus showed us how to love each other, right? And love can't be written down into commandments, right? So it's more. It's more than the Mosaic Law.
Well, God gave the 10 Commandments to Moses. Are you denying that? So Moses recorded God's...
No. So wait. So here we go. So we have the top 10, right? So remember the Sabbath, keep it holy, honor your father and mother, not murder, blah, 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 blah. Then continues, and then the Lord said the model to Moses, tell the Israelites, you have seen for yourselves I have spoken, do not make any gods alongside me, do not make yourself God, do make an altar for earth. He basically just keeps going. right? He goes
Can you
on
tell me
and
the verse
on
again?
and on.
I'm sorry, I can't
Exodus
remember.
20, Exodus 20 from the Old Testament. And then these are the laws you are to set before you. If you buy, like in Exodus 21, if you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years, and the 7th year shall go free. These are all just from the Lord God that just keeps giving out rule after rule after rule. So yes, he goes 10. Why not keep going? These are all the rules of God that just go on for chapter after chapter after chapter. Why? I'm kind of curious. Why do we stop at 10?
Okay.
And there's 2 sets of
Hold
10
on,
commandments. There's the broken ones and then the rewritten ones. 2 sets.
Yeah. It's actually funny.
Anyway,
So I guess, just let me say, the great part here is it sounds like a Discord conversation with not Fox, because God's talking and the people go, hey, it's too much thunder. You're talking too loudly. And he goes, I don't mean to interrupt you. Shut up. Stop talking. I've got more to say. And then he keeps going. So it kind of has a Discord conversation vibe going in that chapter. So it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny when you compare Foxy to the Lord. But anyway,
I do want to.
Rab, in a way, real quick,
Sorry,
I'll be
go
super quick.
ahead.
Yeah,
no,
sorry. I mean,
my fault.
yeah, sorry. No, it's cool. It's like, Rab, you there? Like, in a way, I have to kind of agree with you to some degree on this. I'm not saying we should keep 613 laws. And yeah, it is a little bit confusing trying to pass out what ones we should and shouldn't keep, because a lot of them are ceremonial and of their time, of the people. But two that I think that you would maybe benefit from me saying this in this argument, Rab, is like, I think it's Leviticus 20:15, where it says, like, man shall not lie with a beast as he lies with a woman. Now that, obviously, most Christians will agree we should keep this, but it's not part of the 10. You know what I mean? What do you think, Rab?
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. I would agree. It's a lot of the anti-homosexual laws. Because basically, if you're going to say Paul was just writing a letter to
their beds.
Okay, I think I
You're just
found
gonna-
something. Sorry.
Well, basically, so let me just finish up there. If you're saying Paul was only writing to one church, then you have to lean to the fact that Jesus said, keep all the original laws. And that's the way you're going to exclude homosexuality and other activities like that. If you have to go back and pull those back in from the Old Testament. But then you also have to get to the stoning of children and beating of slaves and stuff like that. So it's very tricky.
So there are 2 sets of 10 commandments. But I don't want to talk anymore on that because this is still kind of confusing to me. Jonathan was talking to me about it the other day. Catholics, they abide by both 10 commandments. It's not that Protestants don't, but Catholics take these commandments as to be, if you don't follow them, it could be like a mortal sin, aka you could go to hell. There is a reason why there is 2, and I was kind of briefly looking over this webpage. And again, this goes back to the whole, if I don't understand something in the Bible, why this is this, I can go and I research it to have a better explanation of what's going on. This webpage explains it, but I don't want to talk more on it because I can't remember exactly why there was 2 and why necessarily we follow one more than the other. But I can get back to you on that.
Let's quote the question once. Sorry, I just joined.
My question is, why only 10 commandments? Why do we stop at 10? Why do Christians stop at 10? I stop at 1, but Christians apparently go on for like just the 10 when there's like 600 of them.
Because the story behind it, that these were the most important commandments to keep to God, from what I understand. But like I said, I would need to reach more back onto it, because if you think about it, there's like a million things in the Bible that says not to do. Don't eat meat. Women shouldn't have long hair. I think was one. I think there's 1,000 things in the Bible that talks about
That's
what we
1
should
Corinthians 11. They should have long hair.
Oh, they should have long hair? Okay, they should have
Isn't
long
it like
hair.
men shouldn't have long hair?
Yeah, men should not, because it is a shame. They should also not cover their heads.
And so I need to read more on the backstory of how these two commandments were created and understand why the different churches, stick to both, and one usually focus on the other.
Rab Scuttle, I mean, the Torah has 613 laws, right? So the Old Testament Jews definitely had a lot more than 10.
Right.
As for Christians, though, I don't think.
Right.
I think it's picking and choosing to say, "Oh, we should follow the Ten Commandments, but not the rest of the Levitical laws and whatnot," right? Because I think all the Ten Commandments are reestablished in the New Testament. So I'm not going to be like, "Oh, the Old Testaments are gone away. You don't have to follow them." You do have to follow them, but not because they're in the Old Testament. You have to follow them because they're reestablished in the New. Like, don't kill, hey, don't steal, don't lust, all these things.
Correct.
So
if I was still a Christian, I would have to kill my ex-wife for cheating.
Not really.
In the Bible, it's a commandment. If I was a Christian, I'd have to go kill her.
Oh,
Are
you an ancient Jew? I didn't realize how old you are, hippie. That's insane.
I don't think Christianity.
Wait. That's great. So let me just point out. Whenever I'm in these conversations, I think I'm dealing with one head of the Hydra of Christianity. So I started making assumptions about that head, and I realized it's a different head. Is the Bible objective morality or not?
Dude, the Bible is
objective.
Objective morality. However, objective morality does not mean the same moral system applies to all people at all times.
That seems
right.
highly subjective.
No, you're conflating objective with static. That's your problem.
At the end of the day, God judges people on their intentions in their heart. So he judges each and every person differently. So we don't all have to follow this rhetoric and rulic of the Bible and how we should behave and act. And if we are confused about different things, as long as we have a good heart, we have good intentions, that's how God's going to judge us. Now, the things in the Bible, like the Ten Commandments, help you stay in line with God and help you live a life like God.
I saw a bumper sticker that said, "Christians aren't perfect, just forgiven."
In a sense, yeah.
I just want to know, Mosen. There are these favorite verses in the Bible of mine. In Numbers 31, I think, verses 15 to 18.
That's slavery.
Do with like taking the virgin girls for themselves and everybody else.
Sure.
What would you say about that? Like, okay, so was that an objective morality at the time, and now it isn't?
So, no, it's not that morality changes, right? But again, there's different moral laws applied to different people. I mean, we do that today, right? With your children, you don't apply the same law to the same children. You don't apply the same law.
I'm gonna phrase it a bit differently. If you were living at the time, would you do it?
Hey, buddy. So what I would do is let the person finish talking and then respond. So yeah, again, what you're conflating is that, okay, because God did not have the same law for the same people at all, the same law for all people at all times in all places, therefore morality is not objective for God. Obviously, it's not the case. Objective morality just means that which is true on a morally factual level, universally, right? And it is universally true that you ought follow God's commandments, right? And so rape has never been okay, right? Rape has never been okay. However, God has permitted it in certain instances and does permit it today in his passive will, right? The question is that morally legitimate? Less so than did it happen, right? In Vortigern, you would say it's not morally legitimate, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter what I think. I'm asking you what you think. Do you think it's morally legitimate to be passive about these kind of things?
Yes, because any claim against God's moral legitimacy is based on arbitrary standards. I mean, let's just dive into it. Vortigern, you would say that, allowing rape to occur in the universe is immoral on God's behalf. How do you determine that which is moral and immoral? What is your standard?
Not again.
How about the good God?
Well-being reduces the whole shebang. Well-being.
Sure.
Fairness. How about fairness? I don't want to be raped. Why would I want other people to be raped?
So I'm going to address Vortigern's just to keep it concise. So Vortigern, how have you determined that human well-being is a standard that God should uphold?
Well, he should if he wants to be according to the standard most people use today. I'm not saying that this standard is objective.
Okay, I agree with you. You're not saying it's subjective.
I think that all moral standards are subjective, and you said that it isn't.
Well, that's subjective. Unless we have knowledge of an apple, then it will be objective. But until we have knowledge of an apple, now we're not using the word apple to describe what we're seeing. At that point, it becomes objective, but it's still subjective whether it's an apple or not. There's always subjective.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Well, is that?
Against Christian Morality, Elul on Paul's Freedom Doctrine by J. Scott Jackson. In 1951, the French sociologist and theologian Jacques Ellul published a seminal theological essay on the meaning of freedom, according to St. Paul, an exposition of Romans 8. As commentator Marva Dawn explains, early on, Ellul had been drawn to the works of Karl Marx, but he came to find Marx's theory was insufficient to address ultimate questions about the meaning of existence. For that, the transcendent perspective of religious faith is necessary. While reading Romans 8, he had a sudden watershed experience in which the words of the Bible came alive as a liberating word addressed personally to him. This essay, she writes, reflects some of the early fruits of that conversion. Like so many interpreters of Paul, from Luther to Barth and beyond, Ellul discerns in this text the liberating word that casts a shadow of judgment over all human efforts to create a moral and just social order. In its more radical forms, at least, this move has often elicited the charge that it enables antinomianism, disregard for the law, and moral relativism. Yet, the dialectical razor's edge of this gospel of freedom is easily blunted. Even such an exemplary Protestant martyr like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, in Ellul's view, risks undermining Christian liberty by ranging it among the virtues. I think they wrote the among. What the hell? By ranging it among the virtues. I'm not going to try and evaluate this critique here. The young Ellul expresses his view rather trenchantly. When we try to make more precise the rules of Christian life, to construct a moral code, a model that can be imitated and accomplished, we betray Jesus Christ himself. We despise this freedom that he acquired for us with such difficulty by his death. We fall back into the old enslavements, and we repudiate the title of the children of God. Ellul's exposition of this theme dovetails with his emergent theology of the principalities and powers, which I introduced here. The efforts to establish an ethical code based upon abstract rules and principles, in his view, reflects a submission to one or more of the myriad heteronomic would-be authorities that oppress and afflict the human beings and societies. Ellul explains, one can lose the freedom that is accorded us by grace by reintroducing into our life some other Lord, by our submission to the spirit of the world, which is always possible, and which the epistles of Paul, especially the pastorals, give several examples of. Ellul doesn't limit his broadside to questions of individual morality, as if that ever existed in isolation anyway, but clearly he targets broader ideological currents and sociopolitical programs. We alienate this freedom when we commit ourselves to a sociological current, to a current social conformism, in pretending that it is the manifestation of the Christian life, Example, the political conformism founded on Christian political doctrine. Adhesion to an economic system as an expression of the revealed truth of love. Each time that we justify with Christian motivations, for example, one of our political attitudes, almost always taken for motives of sociology or passions, we thereby cease to be free in Christ. What is going on? To be honest, I find that passage a little difficult to decipher, especially the part about motives of sociology or passions. Nonetheless, clearly Elul is groping toward a definition of faith and freedom that is stridently anti-ideological, that is, an iconoclastic stance that stands in tension with any systematic schema for thought or behavior. I get it, I think. I'm not in a place yet to parse and parlay Elul's claim here. Such a response awaits more careful study and rumination. But these passages exercise some abiding questions of my own. To wit, to what extent is it actually possible for anyone to realize a stance so cleansed of ideological taint and so free from the compromising entanglements of some program or another that she could be said to exhibit the freedom commended here? All human existence after is ineluctably embedded in a specific social, political, or economic circumstances. We are, all of us, already committed to something. It might be the devil, it might be the Lord, as Dylan croons. But, if I might be a little cliche here, is the devil not in the details? Might those details include, at least from time to time, specific admonitions and injunctions? Our milieu is suffused with cultural and political mores, and that includes even countercultural ones, assuming such phenomena truly exist and is not just a lyrical, ideological gesture. To be sure, just how in any given circumstance the gospel of God's free grace in Christ, which never change, or does it, with interface to any particular set of social or political commitments, is on face, often far from being self-evident. But certainly, okay, but the counterculture is a way of conformity too, though. Like, Elul isn't arguing counterculture. He's arguing existential individuality. Counterculture is another conformity. So I think this guy's missing the point. Like, he thinks Elul's talking about a counterculture. In a way, he is talking about a culture. Well, he's talking... It's not counterculture, though. Take out the word culture. It's individual counter. It'd be an individual counter to the system or the establishment. Individualized counter establishment. That's what Christianity is. It's not a community that's all doing it the same way with ritual duty. Okay, well this article is dog shit, unfortunately. I wasted my time. I'm on the block.
Pause. No, but Russell, how can you ground a thing how does grounding solve the problem of infinite regression? When you say something grounds something, isn't that like special clicking?
That's creating infinite regression, ironically, Miro. Because you're always looking for something to ground stuff. So how do you ground your grounding? You're just always looking for something behind the appearances when there isn't. That's the problem.
Next time I'm going to ask when somebody says, how do you ground that? I'm just going to say, because I said so. That's about as effective as trying to argue through a million reasons to back up your point.
Is that not a good way to do that? 'Cause that's exactly how I would do that.
Rapscuttle, you there?
Yes.
Lobster and steak boy, what up?
question from you, Rascuttle. Do you believe in objectivity, or is everything subjective?
So you mean like, do I believe in? I believe that. So this is a. Let me see if I can carefully phrase this. So I believe that I have rules that I can state which can be measured objectively against me, but the rules I make are fairly subjective. So I can make a statement of I believe in fairness, I believe in sympathy and empathy, and that's what I should do against. And that lets other people judge, am I in concordance with my principles? So it can be objectively measured, but it's subjectively chosen.
Agree 100%. Now, Bandy, what is your opinion on his statement?
I don't think that you can objectively. The notion of rules and such is immediately in the realm of subjectivity. I would say the moment you get into the notion of like rules and measuring, this is all in the realm of subjective, I would say.
Well, you give this
here's an example
of believing something, right? And if someone says like, "What do you believe?" and I say, "I believe X, Y, Z," they're gonna be like, "Well, why?" And I'll say, "Because I'm the authority on what I believe."
Yeah. And another example is the rules of chess are arbitrary. They're effectively subjective by who invented chess. But then once they're written down, you can have multiple people objectively know if you're playing by the rules or not. So there's an objective measurement of is the game being played correctly.
I don't believe you can have people objectively know if you're playing the game correctly. That implies that there is some rules of chess that I can go find out that are there that weren't just made up.
But are they subjective rules or are they hard rules?
What'd you say?
Is it a subjective rule, like in hockey, if you're high sticking, your stick was too high? Is that subjective, or is it like chess, where it's like you can't move your thing off the board, you can't move a piece off the board?
Well, but the better thing is why is that rule? Can we objectively know that somebody's that those are the right rules? Is that objective? I don't think that's subjective. Word.
Yes, that's.
What should I repent for? I'm not counterculture. I'm trying to be an individual over here, brah. I'm doing my best. I don't know what your problem is. You're a weirdo.
Or whatever. I mean, I think there's good reasoning or whatever behind it, but that doesn't imply that. The problem is saying it's subjective. It implies that there's a fact of the matter. I don't think there's a fact of the matter for the rules of chess. I believe that that's just something that people made up.
That's fine. No. Okay, agree. No. So I agree with you. I just want to know definitionally, literally, whatever words you choose here, I'm fine with. I really am. I just don't like because there's little value in arguing about this. Calvin Ball from the old Calvin and Hobbes comic, where they just constantly made up rules on a drop of a hat to just do random things as they kind of played a baseball-ish kind of game. That was 100% subjective with nobody able to say if anyone was following the rules or not. Chess is a game that has someone subjectively said, I want the pieces to move like this. Here are the rules we're going to go with. And now two people can watch players and know if they're moving by the rules or not. What would you describe as the difference between those two states of affairs? Because it seems like
you have one case where we can see that the rules are staying the same for the most part. Between like you just have one case where there's not really any rules, and then in one case you have some rules that are actually.
Okay, so
but the problem, the thing is, I'm saying.
What word would you want to use? So I would have used the word objective rules in that case. That was my mistake, right? I would have used that word as objectively you can tell if someone's following it or not. That's how I would. Okay. That's how I would have defined that term. How would you want to define that word? What word would you want to determine between the states?
I would just say that you can object. You can. I don't know if I would use the. Well, yeah, maybe that's fine. If you're saying maybe I misunderstood what you're saying. I thought that you were saying at first. Maybe I was talking past you and I misunderstood what you were saying because you're saying we can tell that if this rule is being violated. I would say, you can do that. And I would say, I don't know if the word objective is maybe, let me think about it more because I'm thinking that at first I'm saying that I'm assuming that you're saying that there is objective rules for chess and that the rules of chess are something that there's a fact of the matter there. Which, I mean, I guess it's weird because now that I'm thinking about it, I guess that is. So, is there a fact of the matter for the rules of chess? Is the better question that I should think about. And we should. I don't know if you guys.
Exactly. So I say that they're not part of the universe in the sense that they're like I won't find fundamental physical laws. They were made by man. These rules were totally made by a set of humans that created them. But now, once they're written, we can follow them.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree with you. You know what? You're actually right. We can say that. We can objectively say if somebody, well, we can't objectively say because, and that's, I guess maybe what I was saying, because I don't believe you can put objective reality into symbols. That's apparently making it simple. But what you're saying, I agree with you. I'm getting that minutia. There is a fact of the matter for within the minds of the humans of what the rules of chess are. Like whether there's nothing that says that they have to be that way is what I was more so getting, because the notion of that being a correct way to play chess, you can say that they're not playing by the right rule, but I'm just getting at the notion they're being right rules. But whether they're right or not is irrelevant to what you're saying. What you're just saying is that we can say that the rules that the people have agreed upon, those are not how that's not how they're playing right now. And
so are you saying that objectivity equals
and that's an objective reality? I would say. Wait, my bad.
I'm asking. Do you think? It sounds like what you're saying is that you would define objectivity as agreed upon subjectivity.
I don't think that. That's what I would say is not objectivity.
Okay.
The objectivity is touchable, observable. Is it? Can I go and can I? Is it just abstraction where we're just saying, okay, there's unicorns and stuff, or is there something I can go and touch, whether we want to call it a unicorn or whatever, and do I have to use any words to describe it? Like,
okay, so again, I don't know if this is just me, but to me, subjectivity is about perception and view.
Well, yeah, but that problem is that the going and looking at it is outside of perception, is what I would say. Perception is when I start organizing the information. Yeah, there's filtering, I would say. I wouldn't call that, which I guess that is called perception as well. Which, yeah, there is filtering that my body and does onto the environment where I don't see everything. I would agree with that. And that
you can only ever see something from your point of view.
Well, I'd argue against the notion of people having a point of view because
I mean, I'm talking about.
Then yeah, sure, but like, how can we be certain of that? We can.
Well, before we get too far down this rabbit hole, let me back up just a second and answer a previous question. Ishmael is recognized by Muslims as the ancestor of several northern prominent Arab.
Another time or over chat, but there's a lot of things actually. So, but yeah, I don't want to bore everyone. It'll probably just be a conversation for another day.
Okay, that's fine. Could I add you and we talk about it sometime?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
If I were here, I would be talking about it.
Before. I'm sorry, what?
I've noticed over my time on Discord that Taylor's scared. Do you know what I mean? That's what I know.
Wait,
I'm scared.
No, I'm joking. Taylor does avoid, talking about things that you don't know. Like, if you've not got everything down perfectly, then you try to avoid the topic, which is good.
Yes.
Humble.
I could try to steal manner. Like, I would say because of dogma, dogmatic law, and the things that the Catholic Church was doing at the time, and people like Martin Luther and what he posted to the door of the church and complaints, like he was pointing out what he thought was wrong with the Catholic Church, and that was where you get Protestantism, and that's why I think that I'm steel manning her. I think.
Well, I mean, I think we could talk about it for days on end, but at the end of the day, your interpretation of the Bible and some scriptures that I find really important, I don't interpret the same way. And so I don't think we're ever going to come to an agreement. And because of some of the ways that the Catholic Church rules that they abide by, I personally believe that it's...
But he didn't say that he's a theist.
Wait. What is it? So, like, God's, knowledge is distinct from,
From God's... So, but I'm telling you, if you go by the source, in Islamic source,
is raping women.
Okay, there is no jihad in nikah. I'm so sorry. Like, there's nothing like that.
That was in Syria. You can go and ask.
They're gonna travel all the way from different places, like from Europe, any country, and they're gonna go to fight just for jihad and nikah. I'm
Bro,
sorry. This is
okay, wait.
unrealistic.
Why would women go to Syria from different countries to ISIS?
Because they're with the family. You see, they're with their house.
And that you don't have to do any works to get to heaven. I don't believe that. I believe it's salvation first and works as well. But not all.
That's
Protestants.
exactly Catholic soteriology. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand that. It just seems like there are stipulations as well, because I have heard that. But when it comes down to details of confessing your sins to a priest, my idea of that, it doesn't say anywhere in the Bible. Actually, it says in the Bible that if you were not able to know God, you will go to heaven. Catholics believe that unborn
John
babies.
15:12.
Yeah, so Catholics.
Limbo
say
doesn't
babies.
exist. Don't say limbo.
The
Wait,
Bible
what?
says confess your sins to one another.
And it also
So-
says that only priests can forgive sins. John 20:23.
It
what
doesn't
about
say
praying
only.
to saints?
See,
Praying
that's
to
why we're
saints.
showing the conversation, because it doesn't say only. Can I finish my last sentence?
Sure.
God says that if you did not have the chance to know Jesus Christ, that you will not be punished for it.
You
And
agree?
Catholics believe that
Nope.
unborn babies will go to hell.
That's not in Catholic dogma. Okay. So
Okay,
like
I'm sorry. I'm just
wouldn't
repeating from what I've heard. Please don't get mad at me.
unless you've spoken to Catholic traditionalists, I kind of tell
Yeah.
you are not just like the general group. I mean the guy, Catholic traditionalist. He doesn't even believe in the Pope. Honestly, I would doubt anything a Catholic tells you. Even me, honestly. And most Christians, right? Just fact check them. Like Catholic.com is going to be the fine standard to fact check people. I mean, obviously it's not a deep dive, but anyways, no, we as according to the Catechism, entrust the unbaptized babies to God's mercy. That is all we can say and know about them. But we do know that those that fail to know God will not be punished for their failure to know God.
Muslim,
Okay, that's
why do
great.
the Catholics pray to saints? I just
Why do
always
Catholics
wanted
pray
to
to saints?
Yeah, because
the
like
prayers
aren't
of a
they just
righteous
dead people?
Well, yeah. So if if Christianity wasn't true, yeah, they'd be dead. They'd be in the dust. They don't matter, right? But the prayers of a righteous man availeth much, and availeth more than an unrighteous man. Who be more righteous than those that sit at the right hand of God, right?
Yeah, I just been at like Protestant services where they're saying praying to saints like Hail Mary, full of grace. Those things is putting other gods before me, not even God's saints before. Like God,
Yeah,
just
that's a
God.
Muslim belief, honestly. It's shirk for Muslims. But what we would say is that it's some would say it's necromancy, some would say it's worship of another god or idolatry. If you say the latter one, you're just conflating prayer with worship, right? Because essentially prayer just means to ask, right? If you
And yeah, you have Jews and Muslims today that don't even remember or know what it is they're supposed to be fighting about. Other than, I mean, it's just literally turned into just this never-ending holy war.
Request for help or expression of thanks.
About the birthright, I think is just a misinterpretation. Like that's not what it means.
Well,
It
yeah, I
means
mean,
something different.
the bottom line
Covenant.
is, yeah, Jerusalem is seen as the holy Mecca by both, and each one says that it's theirs to claim. That is the promised Holy Land. That's what the fight is about. Well, over the rights to the ancient birthright of the promised Holy Land by God.
It's promised land. Promised land is a history.
Well, it's really not historical. That's the problem.
I don't think it's that simple.
Promised land have been like reached by the Jews, right? They reached the promised land, and that's the end of story. Literally in the scripture, I think they reached the promised land, they settled there, end of story. It's why would today anyone refer to this, and especially as a
Well,
basis
no,
for
I
a
mean
claim
that's
to
the
this
claim is
land.
that Jerusalem is the Holy Land. That's the and it's theirs to occupy by ancient birthright.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, I would agree. I mean, especially when you consider the actual historical origins. The Jews themselves were actually just ancient Canaanites.
I love Jesus.
Good morning, sinners.
I'm a wretch.
Praise God.
Are you a disgusting, filthy wretch, Helgi?
I'm a disgusting, filthy sinner.
Nice, me too.
Oh.
When you explained it, it made a lot more sense to me is what you were saying. And I think there's just a disconnect of Protestants not understanding what Catholics are, their intentions are with what they do, because a lot of Protestants have this idea that you guys worship Mary. And I didn't understand that. And when you explained, okay, well, this is what we do,
They're quite literally in the realm of subjectivity.
That's fine. That's
Okay,
fine.
yeah.
So what we need to have is so what we would have to have then is another measure of these are things where where there is more disagreement when two observers look at it versus less disagreement.
No. All that is still subjectivity. Okay, yeah.
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's on a scale, right? We have like some places there's things that two people look at that are very unlikely to disagree. There are things that people look at that are more likely to disagree. So in that spectrum of all subjectivity, we might want to name the ends from one end to the other, right? We might want to say this one is more something than the other one. It's more determined, more like less contentious. Less contentious.
It's just more clear.
So
it's just that it's more clear.
Okay.
It's literally, it's just.
That's fine.
I
And
mean,
so I think what we're talking about, so the word objective that a lot of people are using here is the least contentious subjectivity. And if we said that that's just as a shorthand, when we say objectivity, we mean least contentious objectivity. That would just be kind of a mental shortcut for that set of words.
Another way of saying it, Raps, is that so basically, like some people think subjective means mind dependent and objective means mind independent.
That's
right?
what
But
I would say.
Another way of conceiving of it is between private and public, which is to say subjective is something that, the subject has privileged access, private access to. Like if I just look at you, I can't tell what you're thinking. But versus public, which is to say anybody can go engage with this. They can. It's a robust phenomena that anybody could go look and can interact with and can inform themselves about. So it's objective in the sense that it's not private.
Well, I don't agree with the public-private.
Ice cream or something.
I don't agree with the public-private distinction, but I do agree with the mind independent versus dependent. That's essentially what it is. I would say the problem with the public-private, I think it's objective. It's objective. Your headache, your when you go taste an apple. Just because I don't fucking know what it tastes like for you doesn't
the
mean that.
difficult
Just
thing,
like
though,
it's subjective. What I felt 5 years ago, just because I can't access it now, that doesn't mean that doesn't say
Here's the
anything
thing, though.
about it.
If objective means mind independent, you end up
Uh-huh.
with weird consequences like this
Like
this
what?
statement: murder is illegal in the United States. Becomes
That's subjective. That's
just
literally
a
subjective.
Wow. Okay. So then, what about if I say, you know, my car's going, 30 kilometers an hour?
Any statement is going to be subjective. Any statement. If you're
Oh.
trying to get into the realms of
Triangle-
statements and being subjective, then
Okay.
they're misunderstanding what objective is.
Triangles have three sides. So triangles
That's
have three
subjective.
sides, objective or subjective.
The notion of a
That's
triangle is
subjective.
even subjective. The notion of a
Okay.
triangle is subjective. The notion of
So,
three.
are you just saying there
subjective.
is no objectivity then? Like you're saying?
No, there is objectivity, but it's not the realm. You're trying to get it in the realm of symbols, and that's completely missing the point. It's like they're literally trying to go look for this is like going looking for fire in an area where it's raining. Like what? No, you're literally in the realm of subjectivity. You're into symbols and which literally is trying to get into meaning and interpretation, which is literally the mind.
I touched a pyramid. Is that an objective statement?
Any statement is subjective. Any statement.
So then
No,
it
is objective. Wait, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, go ahead. This is important. Go ahead. Say it.
All these sounds in this
Can you
conversation.
give an example?
These words that I'm saying out of my mouth right now, if you take away the meaning and just interpret it as blah 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 blah, woo sounds woo wee, like that's literally that. The objective is just the sounds. It's not outside of ignore all the meaning. It's just the sounds. The meaning is all subjective.
Can you give an example? Well, can you give an example of something objective? Can you just give an example of something objective then? Because I'm totally lost.
These sounds right now that are coming out of my mouth. Go and touch whatever's around you. Go and touch I'm touching my computer. That's
Why is that objective? I'm sorry. What? That's objective.
It's mind independent. Wait, what'd you say?
That's
How is
feeling the
touching?
touch?
Sorry,
Yeah.
how is the sensation of touching mind independent?
The touch. I look. Here's the thing with the here. Look, I'll explain to you. It's simple. So, the notion of one. That there's no finding one in the universe. I can just go and say one doesn't exist and it will have no effect on anything, and I can define one as whatever. I can do all this stuff. I can control one with my mind. Because it has no existence. It's just subjective. I can just change it like with my will. It's just my mind. It literally has no existence. I can just say fucking triangle. That's not really a triangle. What he's saying. Because there isn't anything.
That can't be the ability to change it with your mind can't be what subjective means, because then you can't change whether murder is illegal in the United States with your mind.
No, the United States is is in my mind. Murder is in my mind. All that stuff is in my mind. There's nothing. I can't go find the bounds between me walking in the park and then murder. I can't find that.
Are you saying that nothing that is truly objective can be described with words?
They can be described in words, but then you're making it subjective.
If you're describing something with words, like if I was to make the simple statement, the universe is, period. Objective truth?
That's not, if it's words, no, that's not. The objective truth is those sounds that you just said, though. But the notion of the universe and is and all that is.
Well, if I was just trying to say like the sun exists, objective?
Nope.
I don't understand why sound. Sorry, why is sound objective? Like you're saying those sounds. You're saying that's objective truth.
So look, the sound. Look, listen to the sounds. Don't my mind doesn't change. My mind doesn't change with the sound.
Objective truth. If I said
my mind doesn't change the sounds.
Right now, is that objective?
My mind doesn't change the sounds. Is what I'm saying. My mind changes the meaning. The meaning is completely. Me and a whole bunch of people can get together and say this means this. We can this is literally, and then I don't have to get people. It can just be my own
labels?
notions. It's literally in the mind.
Your mind changes. Your mind changes sound all the time. Like if you're distracted, if you're focusing intensely on something. Sorry, if you're focusing intensely on something, and somebody talks to you, and you literally don't hear them, those sound waves hit your ears.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't. Yeah, sorry.
So
this is very confused.
Those sounds that I didn't notice are literally in the realm of the abstract. Just like whatever you're not looking at right now, whether it is, I would say it is objective, but it's in the realm of the abstract to you right now.
May I ask you?
Go ahead.
I as much as I like rabbit holes, haha. what are you doing with this new definition of objectivity? I guess, like, what I came in on the what's objective. What would you? So you have now this very interesting definition in my mind, definition of objectivity and subjectivity, and you do what with it now? So what are you going to move on from? You've defined it, and now you say what in your worldview?
I'm kind of confused. Are you asking the practical applications of this?
I think the practical application would be in debate. If someone's trying to argue something is an objective truth when we realize that it's actually based upon their perception, then we could say it's subjective, even though they're arguing it's objective.
Well, I mean, that's obviously going to be useful in conversation, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, I would say it's just philosophy, but it's important because there is practical implications to this. I mean, off the top of my head, I mean, like the problem is people confuse the abstraction, the mind, the interpretation, the meaning, the symbol for the reality, and ultimately you have to understand the reality of it is what that is versus, I mean, you don't have to, like, you can live your life normally and just.
No, but why have you limited it to language though? That's the thing I'm confused about.
Limited what to language?
I guess you're saying the realm of the subject
was right, but like without the eternal timeline, there wouldn't be any world timeline.
Yeah, that's right.
So, in a sense, the choice in the matter of fact is I would say the matter of fact is that your choice is not caused, right? It just always was.
No.
But the overarching reality is the eternal timeline, right? The world timeline is the dependent reality, right?
Okay.
So when I'm talking about fact, I'm talking about reality of the realist, right? Which would be the eternal timeline. So the matter of fact is that you didn't cause the event; it always existed.
What? I'm not
so,
sure.
So when I say fact, I mean the ultimate reality, right? So the ultimate reality would be the reality.
Clear than what is cash out what you mean by.
I'm scared. What if he tells all the other jerks what we've been saying? What if he knows?
He knows nothing. He's been mostly out of this conversation.
I know everything, ever.
Oh, there you go. He got kicked out.
So anyway, yes, I do see someone outside of my house. I don't know who it is. I'm worried.
It's best not to try not to think about it.
Someone's pounding